Hey guys, in the live chat and everybody who watches the replay, welcome to Friday Night Live. Thank you for hanging out. Pip and beat everybody here. Hey buddy, good to see you there. We had a whopper of a storm just come through and wrap up and move out just in time to get the show started. Uh, didn't really have any issues from it. It was quite the lightning show, very noisy. Trip didn't like it at all. She ended up getting a double dose of doggy CBD. But I didn't see any issues around here, but there was much flashing and the long rumbling thunder, the kind that just goes and goes and goes. But we needed the rain, and so I'm good with it. It kind of been building up all day and just kept getting swampier and heavier and windier, and then it finally cut loose. So nobody in the area needs to water their garden tonight, fortunately. So, what you guys been into this week? I pretty much kept the bulk of my week here at the farm and prepping for two classes that I'm teaching this weekend. We've got tomorrow's foraging class, tomorrow, Saturday the 17th at 11 a.m. If you're in the Knoxville area and you hear this before then and you would like to come on out, give me a holler. strongrootsresources@gmail.com. It's $20 a person. We'll be out here for 2.5 to 3 hours. I did the prep work today. I put together a little different route this time than what we normally do. And just really the half hour or so that I took to kind of mark off the route and make sure I wasn't dragging people through brambles or anything not fun. I had 50 plants, 50 different things written down to show. I kind of always have like a pretty good mental tally of what's around here and at what time of year, but I just kind of like to refresh my brain the day before. And is a long list. And I didn't. And that's not everything. I'm gonna notice stuff tomorrow that I didn't notice today, which kind of always makes up the difference because sometimes I forget to show certain things. So so we're looking forward to doing that. And then I've got another foraging class on Monday. A lady who had been to one of the classes that I led back in early July on another property in Rogersville contacted me, and she's going to bring a bunch of our coworkers over on their lunch break on Monday, and we're going to do kind of a quick, kind of 90-minute foraging class for them. So the momentum on that continues, and I'm very happy about it. With this much. Let me back up for a second. So I sent this out. Here's how I found people. If you guys in your own area, you're wanting to do this is your thing, and you want to, or if you just want to do tours, or you just want to show people what you know and what you can share with them. This came from a mailing list. I posted this to my own mailing list has, I think there's about 260 people on it, so not that many, but I've literally built that from the ground up, from meeting people in person. Events, other classes, gatherings, all that kind of stuff, festivals. So the mailing list, I put it out on the Living Free in Tennessee events page. I put it out on the CHIO website event page, and cross-posted it to a few Facebook groups that allow that sort of thing. And of course on my own personal Facebook. So that's kind of, and I've got 12 people signed up, and I almost always have like a couple of last minute, or somebody will text me and say, hey, can I bring a friend? And the answer is always yes. If I can accommodate 10, then I can accommodate 15. If I can accommodate 15, I'll find a way to accommodate 20. So the answer is yes. Maybe you can't bring a school of 500 up here, but we can make it work. So this is completely doable, and that's kind of an ideal size for me in terms of being able to converse with everybody, be heard, move at a pace where nobody feels rushed, but we're also staying on the move to some degree. So yeah, I will I'll certainly get one on for, let's see, today's 16th. I might just go ahead and schedule another one for the end of the month. Why not? Because like a couple of people had to cancel at the last minute because things come up. So let me get another one on for the towards the end of August, so those people have another opportunity to come out. Because it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and it gets me closer to my goal of just earning more on farm on homestead income. So Pippin, I agree. That is a good lunch break. Um, and yeah, I mean, if they want to, I'm gonna check in with this lady over the weekend. If they want to come a little early or stay a little later and have lunch underneath our sycamore tree, absolutely, let's do it. I just uh, it's wonderful. I'm always a little bit well, I'm always grateful, but I'm always just like a little bit surprised when that kind of stuff happens. It's just like a cool little synchronicity, and it's just this little bit of momentum that just kind of keeps encouraging me, keeps pushing me along. So on that note of foraging classes and teaching, really cool announcement, super cool announcement. I'm going to be doing a weekly, or at least if not weekly, maybe bi-weekly or whatever, segment on Jack Spirko's podcast, the Survival Podcast. Me doing a foraging segment. I pitched this to him a little over a week ago. I've been mulling it over for a long time, and when I listened to the most recent expert council episode, he said, "Hey, I'm looking for new people to add to the expert council." So I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, this is what I have in mind, trying to do, a foraging thing on an audio podcast. And I hope you guys don't mind all the Wren activity here in the loft. She's got a lot to say." So I pitched this to Jack. I said, here's my idea. I can provide a 5 to 10 minute clip, whatever length that he wants. I'll be describing something that is readily forageable, if that's a word, in most of the US. And then I'm going to make a post about it as well with further information, photos, that sort of thing on my website that he can throw in the show notes. So when people hear it later on, they can say, because I pitched him one about passion flower. I went ahead and sent in a sample of what I could do, make sure he understands that I can speak relatively clearly and concisely. And did a follow-up link on my website. So of course that drives people to my website, which is nice. And he got back to me a few days later, said, "I love it. Let's talk a little more about it." He's going to add that segment that I put together into this coming weeks. So he does them on Thursday now. So yesterday, it was, he couldn't fit it in yesterday. So he's going to put it in the next week's. We'll talk a little bit more about exactly what that'll look like, what, how that works with his format and everything. And that's a lot of ears that I get to have hear me and hear about my work. So I'm very excited about that, especially as I kind of steer the business a little more towards the understanding of the landscape and the observe and interact principle of permaculture, and just helping people really understand and take the long view on what's going on with the natural world, and have that as a base for designing properties, designing homesteads, and because that's where my interest really lies. So I'm very excited about this. Really appreciate Jack giving me the shot here. I'm going to give it my absolute best work, because here was something that I had been bumping up against. Yes, I love doing this, but if I don't feel, in terms of creating foraging content, but if I don't feel like I have people expecting this information from me, it'll keep getting bumped down the list in terms of things that I spend my time on. But if I know that I have to have this segment in by a certain time, it's going to happen, because I don't let people down. I just don't. That's incredibly important to me. So it's just like, I know you guys have come to look forward to the Friday show. So it's not really optional, unless something just really goes sideways, or if I'm out of town and I simply can't do it because I'm out in the sticks. we're going to do the Friday show because you guys are expecting it. So, uh, so yeah, keep your ears out for that. I'll announce more when I know a little bit more. But I'm very stoked and I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And this for those who kind of don't know uh, my the background to me starting the business. It was because I finally, after many years of mulling it over, put to work one of the things that Jack and Nicole and Toolman Tim, and sorry about smacking the computer, and all those folks said about, if you want more freedom in your life, you need to be running your own business, or at least a side hustle. So I started it like a side hustle, and I've built it up into my full-time business. And here I am helping provide content for one of the shows that was one of the biggest butt kickers for me, getting this launched and making it happen. So nice full circle, and I'm super excited about it. Take a second here to say howdy to everyone that's stopping in. One Step Closer is here. Jeremy, good to have you, my friend. And Tim Riley is here. Tim, did you get rowdy storms on your end of the state? Because it kind of came at us from a funny angle. I mean, it came from the west, but when we were sitting on the front porch watching it come in, the wind was blowing like due south. Like it literally like dropped in on us from the north. It was kind of wild. And sometimes once stuff comes off the plateau, it gets a little wonky. Pippin says, that sounds like the wiki history thing I did for the Lodge Project. I enjoyed that segment. I really did. And I've missed, I miss Brian being off the air with his lightning strike screwball stuff going on. So I've been getting caught back up since he's been making those episodes again. Yeah. It's funny how just when somebody's waiting on you, you just make it happen. It's just like I went to a job because I knew there were people depending on me, and I hate to let people down. I show up for my customers because I know they're expecting me, and I'm not going to let them down. At the bare minimum, everything gets communicated clearly. So I assure you guys that there won't be any shaking of the piker tree when it comes to me for TSP, because I can't stand to have stuff like that hanging over my head. I like to complete things. So Tim caught that storm come out of Chattanooga. Yeah, it was wild. It was interesting. I was out here flipping compost, and mostly, but only because I'm combining everything that's in all these different pallet sections, because it's all basically the same age at this point. And I'm going to blend it all into one pile and let it finish cooking. And I could see it, I was kind of looking northeast, and I could see it creeping in, and it just kept getting that deeper and deeper contrast. And once I started hearing rumbles of thunder, I decided I better not be out in the great wide open on top of a hill. And yeah, that wind, it was something, but man, feels good now, cooled down. All the gardens got a really good drink. So I was happy about it. Thank you so much, guys, for the good thoughts about TSP. You just never know. You just got to go for it, right? Like, I was listening to last week's, I guess, yeah, it was last Thursday. I was on a dump run listening to last week's show, and I'm not even able to catch every single show these days. I kind of have to pick and choose, but I always listen to Expert Counsel. And I tend to catch the replays of the live streams that he does. And when he said that he was looking for people, I just thought, well, won't know unless I try. And it wouldn't, if I get turned down, I'm a big boy, I can handle it. And I was already kind of thinking that even if I didn't get accepted, I would do it anyway on my own platform, on my own channel. So, yeah, we're gonna talk more plants, and I've had some additional suggestions from the LFT and MeWe group about the kind of the intersection between why plants are in certain soils and what it may tell you about the soil life and what it may tell you about the microclimate. So I think I'm I know I'm going to be able to take it beyond just here's this plant and you can do these things with it. We're gonna make it valuable, like always. We're gonna we're gonna round that out for sure. So while I was pondering the whole foraging thing, as you guys well know, I have a book problem. If you've ever been in my shop slash office, you can see that when I got rid of a lot of things in order to downsize, I did not get rid of a single book, and I have added many more since we've been out here. But I have always wanted copies of Yule Gibbons, and that's, let me throw it in here in the chat because it's kind of an unusual name. Yule. Yule Gibbons was a very well-known author on foraging. These books, I believe, would have been published in the 60s and 70s. And there's kind of some long form ones, and then there's some that are more like field guide style. And so I got to digging around on eBay and secured some copies because they're out of print, quite a few of them, and they're a little bit hard to come by. But they're not too expensive. You can still kind of get them for about $10 a piece. So I've added more foraging books to the library, not because, well, there's no such thing as too many books. I have a lot of really good field guides, but because I've read Yule's books before, as borrowed from the library. The nice thing about his work is it kind of provides this background story and narrative that some others, don't. And of course, perspectives and things about foraging in the 70s kind of different from today. So I wanted to add that perspective. So while I was digging around on eBay, I also found a relatively affordable copy of Bill Mollison's original permaculture book. That was $100 because normally they're $150, $200, $300, depends. This one was still in really good shape, and it was a hard copy, or hardbound, as well as his introduction to permaculture, which is kind of a slimmer kind of Cliff Notes volume. Found those, and then I found it's the organic farming handbook that kind of goes hand in hand with Korean natural farming. And this was recommended to me by my friend Blake with Tennessee Mountain Farm, who does some really brilliant work with hogs on deep bedding. And I was looking through his copy when I met him a couple of months back, and I was like, this has got to go to the library because it was kind of hitting that higher level knowledge that I am ready for. So the eBay cart got quite full, I can say. So looking forward to those books coming in. And so yeah, if you look up Yule Gibbons, look for Stalking the Wild Asparagus. There's also one called Stalking the Healthful Herbs, and he's got a couple of others too, but those are kind of the two really popular ones. And they're just they're warm and fuzzy. They're very enjoyable. So I want to try to really expand my perspective on all this. And learning from an old timer is useful. I've got modern information. I want older information, and I want to see what has changed. If there things that we used to say were okay, maybe are not. Things that we used to say, no, don't do this, maybe are okay. Like I kind of want to compare and contrast all that. Let's see what else we've been up to around here. We've got our September gathering coming up, our open house that we do quarterly. That's going to be September 8th. That's a Sunday. We're going to do that from about noon to 4. We'll show all the systems. We can talk the solar system power on the house. We can talk gardens and no-till. We can talk composting. We can talk plant propagation and all the other things that we do out here. Rotational grazing. We'll visit the sheep and primrose. So yeah, if you're hearing this and you're in the Knoxville area and you would like to come by, I think it's well worth your time. We always have refreshments, some snacks, and drinks. And if you do come out, we always appreciate a few buckaroos in the tip jar, or, barter me something cool: plants, seeds, honey, pretty much, non alcoholic ferments. I love all that stuff. Good opportunity to grow your network, meet like minded people. Uh, we always have a good turnout. We've been averaging 15 to 20 people. Usually a little bit of new people combined with our neighbors who show up every time, and it's just always real enjoyable. Every time we have one of these, I see two people who did not know each other before, connecting, exchanging phone numbers before the day is out. So keep that in mind if you're hearing this now, or if you're hearing it on the replay. Uh, well, what else is going on, guys? Like I said, I was digging through the compost earlier. Uh, Man, I was happy with how this stuff looks. I'm just, man, I don't really even have to run it through the sifter. I mean, I do if I'm going to use it for like potting stuff up, but if it's just going straight into the garden or into the pasture, I don't care if it's still a little bit chunky, but the stuff at the very bottom was just literal black gold. Just looked amazing. Uh, I managed to get 2 wheelbarrows worth down the hill a short distance to where this particular pasture. So the first pasture immediate to the west, and I have an idea here in real time that I'm going to make a note about. Okay, the pasture to the immediate west of the cabin. I'm not saying it's the worst, but it's probably got the most compacted soil in certain sections. I think it's just from vehicles being on it previously. And there's just certain areas where just even now still there's nothing growing there. And it's not, in a couple of spots, it's just because it gets a lot of shade. It's kind of close to the wood line. But I think it's just because nothing can breathe. So a couple of things that I've been doing. I've started trucking compost down there. And I'm dumping a wheelbarrow's worth at a time in all these patches, some of which are 10, 12 square feet or so, and not even raking it out all that much. I'm leaving it pretty thick. I've just, I kind of take the top off the mound and just leave it kind of thick. And the other thing that I've been doing this week with my kind of stay at home and get stuff done, I've been digging comfrey. And I thought, you know what? Sheep eat the comfrey. I've got enough comfrey at this point to spread it all over the place. So I've been digging, splitting crowns and root cuttings, and took my planting auger, which is the only way to get this stuff into the ground, and just buzzing holes and dropping cuttings in there, and then covering it back up with a little bit of compost. And if nothing else, then comfrey will be holding the soil in place. Plus, we know that's a dynamic accumulator. It's ground cover. Everything that I run through there can eat it. It responds well to being grazed. I've got a strip at the edge of the hop yard where the soil was originally prepared for hops, but no hops got planted in this particular section. And I've been plugging in comfrey, and they get in when they rotate through that section, they graze it, and of course it comes right back up. So this is kind of my next approach to dealing with these compacted areas. I don't really want to spend the money on seed. I know I've said that before. I don't really have the gear here, the tools to really prep soil in terms of like seed drilling and that sort of thing, because it's on a hillside. The seed's just going to wash away even if I get it covered up. So at this stage, we're plugging comfrey in. I kind of got the idea from Billy Bond, and he said they've been doing that out there. They just kind of put it all over the place, and they're up on the side of a mountain. So they've got to work hard to hold that soil down and then be building it up. And good to have you here. Boy, I'm not going to pronounce that right. Adroit Homestead. Is there somebody let me know how to pronounce that? But thank you so much for popping in. Let me know if I know you, or if you're new to the group. Welcome. There's more info in the show notes. There's a Telegram group. But if you already know us, awesome. Uh, so yeah, we're plugging in comfrey. I think that's going to be my next. Well, I don't think that is. That's just going to be one of my next like quick responses. We know the stuff grows fast. I don't worry about transplanting cuttings even in the heat because they have a way of hanging out. I have been watering. I've been watering them about every other day. Uh, and then we just got this really good soaking rain now. So I think that's just going to be a ongoing thing. And so what if no other pasture grass comes up right there? At least there's something there, and I can always, excuse me, chop and drop it, and just keep building that soil. So yeah, at some point there's just going to be comfrey everywhere, everywhere. Why not? Uh, I did notice that some of the places where I put in root cuttings, something came through and dug them back out again. But where I had put in crowns, those were still there. So probably skunks. And because I had covered it with compost, I'm sure there were bugs and things that would attract a skunk. So that happens. But they'll probably just replant themselves somewhere else. I didn't really find them on top of the soil surface. So, I mean, I guess it's possible that a skunk would have eaten the root cuttings. But I've got enough to do this in many locations without coming anywhere close to being out of comfrey cuttings. Another thing I did yesterday, got down in the forest. So I don't know if I've talked too much about this part of the property before, but on this 10 acres, kind of to the northeast, there is approximately 4 acres, maybe even 5, that is woods slash brushy and brambles, and a portion of it is calorie pear, which will, before too long, will have met a forestry mulcher. But the area that I mostly checked out yesterday is an old pine thicket that was planted, I believe, in the 70s, maybe a little earlier. I need to ask Dad. It was planted by my great grandfather. He planted a white pine thicket on a hillside to help mitigate erosion because he ran cattle at the time. And when I was a little kid, that's all it was. It was pines, and they were planted so closely, and the canopy was so thick that nothing else was in there. And I remember, like, you would go in there and the needles on the ground would be a foot thick. Like, it would just, you could just dig and just needles. Well, all these years later, of course, so I would have been playing in these in, the mid 90s, and they were still young enough that you could, because they're white pines, the limbs come out like in, batches and circles. And they were almost like a ladder. They were very easy to climb. So I could stand on them. I mean, I could reach up, I could do a chin up, get on the first branch, stand up on that branch, do a chin up onto the next branch. And before you know it, I'd be way up in that tree. Well, of course, over the years, because white pines grow very fast, that canopy has opened up because there's no limbs for, I don't know, 20, 30 feet in most cases, or even higher anymore, because they've all fallen off. And I'd say half of those trees have been down. Some have been down a long time. Some come down. There's a good chance another one came down in this storm we had a little while ago. So lots of sunlight has come in. Lots of sunlight has come into that forest floor, and we are seeing the progression before us. So as you guys know, it's not normal. Nature does not monocrop anything. So, it didn't really take, in the scheme of things, all that long for the pines to be declining and being on their way out, and all the deciduous stuff coming in. Now, this area is pretty much, it's zone 5. It's not really anything I intend. I'm talking about the pines specifically. I don't intend to mess with this too much, because it's got its stuff figured out. I mean, it's nature's literally taking its course out there. So we've got some pretty good sized poplar. Tulip poplar have come in. Lots of cherry, lots of red maple, or actually that'd be silver maple down there. Some water maple too. There's elm. There's black walnut. There's quite a bit of stuff coming in. So it's very interesting to see what this progression looks like and how things are kind of coming back into balance. Unfortunately, there is also a lot of privet and bush honeysuckle and some sawbriar and some kind of aggravating things like that. But really, as the canopy changes, that stuff's going to get shaded out again anyhow in another 10 years. So I don't think I'm going to do much with that area, with the exception of the pears are got to go away. The Cavalier pears have got to go away. They're a huge problem. Giant spines, no fun. Can't get vehicles down there. I can't get through there without getting scratched all to hell. So the pines, as they fade, deciduous stuff comes in, and I'm going to either find somebody or work with my brother or, somebody in my community. And we're going to do a very kind of particular sort of forestry mulching so that we can eliminate these problem trees. Because kind of think of like the pines, they're kind of like this sort of island that's being filled in as the oldest and biggest pines have fallen, being filled in by deciduous stuff. But to the north of those, there's this big, several acre patch of mostly Cavalier pear and not much else. So that's what's kind of got to go. Also, because these pines are so huge and a lot of them are weakened and just at the end of their lifespan, really is what it is. They're just old. They come down easily. So I don't ever go down there if it's windy. And when I do go down there, it's like no headphones, ears are open, listening for anything weird, because it could, that's not a place I need to have a tree fall on me, because it'd be really hard for anybody to get to me. There's no getting a vehicle down there. It's all by foot. So that will be, that's going to be a wintertime thing for sure. And we're just going to take all that biomass of those pears and all that privet and all that crap, all the brambles, and just let it bang right on top of the soil, mulch it up, leave it. And then once I'm able to get in there and access, then I can control and help get that, because I don't really want it strictly as pasture. I don't really want the sheep that far away from our zones, and I also don't want them that close to the road, because this is the part of the property that goes down to the road. So I want forest, I want habitat, but I would like it to be much heavier in the realm of native species, and not all this a lot of these Chinese cultivars that come in and strike a big imbalance. I mean, there's a huge section that all it is privet and bush honeysuckle. And that's all you can find. You can walk and walk and walk, and that's all that you'll find. And there's the soil underneath is just bare. There's not even anything in the so-called understory. It's just, for lack of a better word. And I would like to have more ecologically balanced, more, habitat friendly for the deer and the turkeys and the, 55 million rabbits and all those guys that already live around here. And the thing is you can't, one of the things I've been holding off on this because it's so outside of zones 1 and 2 that I'm really not all that worried about it. But as I'm starting to kind of get zones 1, 2, and 3 mixed in, and kind of squared away, and now that I have a plan of what the follow-up work will look like after forestry mulching. You just don't want to just go in and kind of clear an area without an idea of what you're going to do afterwards, because you can just kind of wind back right back where you started, and you've spent all that money and time and didn't really achieve your objective. uh, okay, so the other little thing that this is just kind of a fun thing because I'm a nerd. We've got all these different areas that we graze, and loosely I just call them paddocks. Some paddocks are bigger than others. Sometimes I just put the sheep in a fairly large, like 1 acre paddock, especially if I'm going to have a really busy week and I'm not going to have as much time to move them or set up more fence. So I just make a bigger paddock. And then sometimes when I know I'm going to be here and I want to graze them a little tighter and kind of do a little more of like the intensive mob style grazing, I'll chop the paddocks down into smaller sections and we'll move, every day or every other day. Well, I've got all these different areas and none of them have names. And when I'm trying to communicate with my brother or my dad or Angel or whoever about where the sheep are, where the sheep are moving to, where I expect the sheep to be in the next few days, I realize I got to name this stuff. And I just can't go with A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, or 4. I can't be that boring. And I'm a geek, and I like Lord of the Rings, and I think the Shire was probably the most perfect place ever invented in imaginary land. So it's going to get Shire names, or well, not necessarily Shire, but it's going to get Middle Earth names. I'm going to pick the ones that I like. I'm going to make some little wooden signs, and all these different spots are going to have names. So if you guys have names that you like, submit them. Let me know. It doesn't have to be Lord of the Rings. Don't send me Harry Potter stuff because I've never watched or read Harry Potter. I have no idea how any of that works. I was too old when that came about. But I do love Lord of the Rings, so that I'm sure one's going to be called Bree. I don't want to call anything Mordor because I don't want to bring that kind of energy to it. But I will do. I will name one the Shire, probably the one closest to us, to the cabin, I should say, and. We've got Rohan, we've got that place that Radagast lives. So I'm gonna find a nice kind of Middle Earth poster and base stuff off of that. That's the idea. Probably won't get into the sign making until wintertime when things are a little bit slower. But I thought that could be a fun project in the midst of crappy weather season. Oh, Pippin, is that the movie with all the medieval walking to a mountain? Yes. I hope you have watched this, right? You have watched this. They are, it is some of the greatest storytelling, neck and neck, in my opinion, with the original Star Wars. Let's not talk about the sequels. But if you like digging into the hero's journey, you can't go wrong with the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings films, extended versions. They're amazing. I don't know what the heck they did on Amazon Prime where they redid it and things got all screwball and they wrecked it like they wreck everything else these days. But the Peter Jackson films from the early 2000s, that was all filmed back to back. All in one day. I don't know how long it took them to do it, but they were all filmed back to back. And then, of course, they released them a few years apart. But yeah, a bunch of hobbits and dwarves and elves and all kinds of people that had all these reasons to dislike each other, but yet end up getting along to save the world. It's wonderful. So that's the energy that we're going to bring around here. We're going to bring hero energy, especially from short people, because I'm 5'6". So I got a little bit of hobbit and I'm hairy. So yeah, I'll claim me some hobbit energy. Hobbits get shit done. They really do. And they like to eat like 5 meals a day, which also is accurate. And they're, they can be, I guess you could say I'm kind of like, if I had to choose, I'm a little bit hobbit and a little bit dwarf because I do like to fight. I do train, I do like to fight. Uh, I'm not quite, I'm certainly not aloof enough to go for the whole elf thing. But yeah, if I had to pick my archetype, I'm going to be a blend between hobbit and dwarf. One step closer is suggesting the Blue Havens. Why does that one not ring a bell? I'll have to look that up later. But yeah. If you guys happen to see like a nice Middle Earth poster on eBay or wherever, let me know. I've kind of got a few bookmarked, but I don't need a big one. Just kind of like was it like a 11.5 by 16 or something like that, or 16 by 18, just something manageable. Just for reference, just because I think that kind of stuff is cool. So yeah, they're gonna get names, and that way, when I tell people where the sheep are, they could be even more confused. Why not? uh, oh yeah, I've got one more kind of an update to tell you guys about. Where did my Oh, I lost it. So I've been using this. Well, I'll have to tell you guys the specifics later. I was given this soil inoculant. It's a powder that you mix with preferably rainwater, not chlorinated water, and it's like it's uh, it's meant to help assist with fungal activity, and I've been using it. I've only Here we go again. I've been using it on other people's properties and not on my own. Well, I finally remember to start applying it out here because I apply warm compost out here for the most part. That's kind of how I I make an aerated tea and that sort of thing. But one of my customers gave me some of these little vials of this inoculant to use, and I have been using it out at my customer slash neighbor, who I've been doing this kind of ongoing food forest rehab for close to a year now. And I planted we tarped her garden back, so right there late spring, weeded the garden, left all the biomass down on the ground. It was incredibly overgrown with all kinds of stuff. Weeded all that, and then we did the landscape tarping, the woven ground cover, not the papery cheap stuff. That was her request. I don't normally do these in gardens, but that was her request. She said, I feel like that's the only way I'll be able to get any use out of this garden and it not be a complete fight with weeds the whole time, because she's a little bit older, still works, still is busy, takes care of many family members. So we were trying to streamline things. I said, no problem. Rolled out the ground cover tarping. So this is the kind that it's permeable. The water and everything can come through. Of course, it warms the soil up earlier, and then I planted it. So I made some little planting holes with a propane torch. Planted all kinds of squashes, watermelon, a couple of different kinds of tomatoes. Go away, wasp. Loofah gourd, comfrey. There's some milkweed in there. There's 3 or 4 other things. And I really need to get you guys a picture of this. So a lot of the stuff, like I started these plants from seed in my little greenhouse. I planted them here at my farm, gave some to my mom, gave some to Tyler, and then planted a bunch for my customer. And it is insane how big these plants have grown. How many pumpkins and gourds and squash, watermelon, cantaloupe. It is nuts. And now this garden had been amended before, but it hadn't really grown anything other than weeds for 2 or 3 years. And the only thing I did differently was after with each planting, I just gave just a little drink of that inoculant. I had it in a pump sprayer, and just kind of just gave like a 3-second, 4-second drink to each of those plants right after I planted them, because I was like, let's see how the whole transplant shock thing goes, because it was, some of these were getting transplanted when we were already pretty hot. And it's like it's so prolific there, you can't hardly walk through it. Like, you kind of have to move leaves and stuff aside as you walk so you don't crush stuff. It is absolutely bonkers. I will get photos when I'm out there this coming week. Um, and this was just an inoculant. I'm going to try to look it up here real quick. I think, yes, this is called, computer, if you do not behave yourself. It's SEPIXA. And the website is actually called, whenever's good for you, computer. Oath, OATH, is a public benefit corporation creating natural carbon removal climate solutions. We do so by replenishing the microbiome of soils around the globe, transforming CO2 in the atmosphere into the building blocks of life in soil. And I'm just going to drop. It kind of looks like they have recently changed names, because I think my customers who gave me this product to test, I think they've been sitting on it for a little while. So I'm going to drop this in the chat here. That is a massive link, but hopefully it works. If you look up this product, it's SEPIXA. It will it'll bring up for you. And that's the only thing I did different out there, was add that inoculant. And it's really crazy. I also have another, if we're talking soil improvement, fungal development, all that kind of stuff, there is also a company called WeBuildSoil.com. There's that. I talked to this fellow, Drew Wilson, at the East Tennessee Homesteading Alliance conference back in July. And they are making products for pasture improvement, to assist with cover cropping, to assist in, they're kind of doing stuff like to scale. So if you're doing big market gardens, things like that. And I talked to him at length about these products, because I had questions about, okay, how is this stuff not going anaerobic? How, because they're liquid and all that. And I was satisfied with the answers he gave and the information that I found on the website. So I'm going to be testing more of these before too long. These are things probably worth considering if you have found yourself with pretty denuded land and you need to jumpstart the process. And yes, make compost. Yes, add carbon to the soil. But you know what? Some of us have a heck of a time getting wood chip deliveries to certain areas. Some of us, compost takes time too. Now, you can speed up the process, but that usually means having to have more animals involved and more time flipping and turning and that kind of thing. So I think it's okay to be looking at these products and be considering using them. I don't have any affiliation with them. I met the guy. I've tried the stuff. I've been really impressed. And so I encourage you guys to check it out as well. Hey, Digger, good to have you. Thank you so much for dropping in. I think I have pretty much covered, you guys, what's been up this week. It's been going well. I had a great consult on, I guess it was last week. The end of last week, had a great consult with a lady down on the west end of the county, down kind of close to the river. I'm looking forward to helping her with some stuff. I've got another one lined up for this Wednesday. She actually has permaculture design experience, but wants another set of eyeballs to kind of do some problem solving. You know how it is when you get too close to your own land and need another set of eyeballs. So I'm gonna help provide that, and hopefully get a fall project underway for her. We're going to do more foraging classes, certainly do them here late summer and fall, especially as these persimmon trees fill out and the nut trees and all those guys are coming in. So I think I'm going to wrap it up for now. and go see what's for dinner. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. Let me know if I can help you with anything. You know how to find me. Telegram group is in the notes. Email is in the notes. And we will talk to you next time. Y'all have a good night.